And now, Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations present
Suspense. Tonight, Autolite brings you the Academy Award nominee, Miss Jane Wyman, in a dramatization of the outstanding mystery novel, Catch Me If You Can. A suspense play produced and directed by Anton M. Leader.
Friends, have you actually tried them? Those dandies, those dillies, down the dales and up the hillies, wide gap Autolite resistor spark plugs? Well, by Cornelius, do. Prove to yourself that wide gap Autolite resistor spark plugs actually make your car idle smoother, give you better performance with leaner gas mixtures, save you gas dollars, and cut down interference with radio and television reception. My, oh my, if you want to see a satisfied, smiling guy, switch to Autolite resistor spark plugs. Only the Autolite Company offers car and truck owners everywhere their sensational advantages. So head for your nearest Autolite dealer and replace old narrow gap spark plugs with wide gap Autolite resistor spark plugs. Remember, be right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite presents Jane Wyman in a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Let me tell you. Let me talk as long as I can. It's my last chance to explain about Phil and all the trouble I had afterwards. Phil got me into this mess the night he died. I sat near his bed waiting for him to fall asleep, and he said,
Margot, was there anything in that milk you gave me tonight?
Well, of course, darling. Dr. Landers prescribed it. A sedative.
Oh? You're a beautiful woman, Margot. Very beautiful. Yes.
He was taking so long to fall asleep. It was already after 3 a.m. I listened to the wind. Phil and I were all alone, stuck in that godforsaken mountain inn, ever since he fell ill just before Labor Day. There we were, 10,000 feet above sea level, not a soul for miles. The fall season was over, and all the other guests were gone, and even Joe, who owns the inn, had gone down to Leadfield to get his winter supplies. I shivered thinking of the dark, ragged, lonesome mountains outside, and Phil opened his eyes again.
You're a good actress, Margot. Better off the stage than you were on, I expect. But I know you're fed up with our marriage. Have been ever since I became ill.
I haven't complained, Phil.
No, it wouldn't fit the part. But you feel trapped out here in Colorado, don't you? You'd rather be in New York. I wonder, Margot, those pills you put on my lunch tray last week, they weren't my regular vitamin pills. Maybe you want your freedom and my money enough to poison me.
Don't be ridiculous, Phil.
Well, anyway, I didn't take them. I hid them with a note saying that you tried to give them to me. Then I called a friend of mine long distance, an old friend.
Who?
A detective named Rocky Rhodes. Rocky and I both stayed at this inn one summer.
And what did you tell this Rocky?
Never mind what I told him. Just remember, he's due here tonight or in the morning.
A detective. Phil, you're a fool.
I want a divorce, Margot.
You do?
Yes, without any strings. Those pills are Exhibit A, if they're poison.
Blackmail. Phil, darling, if you want a divorce, you can have it without threatening me.
You'll sign the papers tomorrow?
Of course, darling. I only want to make you happy. But now go to sleep, Phil. You need a good rest. Go to sleep. I stroked his forehead as the sedatives finally took effect. His breathing became very heavy and even. I looked at him and thought he was smart not to take those pills. But not smart enough. He shouldn't have told me about that detective. He thought he was protecting himself and that I wouldn't dare do anything now. But he was wrong because I had to now. I couldn't afford to wait and lose everything when he divorced me. And besides, I'd find those pills in the letter before the detective got here. There was practically no risk the way I'd planned it this time. Outside, it had started to rain, a heavy downpour, and the only other sound in the world was Phil's breathing. I picked up the extra pillow and put it down carefully over his face. He didn't move. I pressed the pillow down on the side so that no air could get in, no air at all, and held it there a long time. Once the pillow shook a little when Phil's head moved. And once there was a gurgling sound. And that was all. When I lifted the pillow and took it back in its place, the job was done. Everything I ever wanted, money and freedom, was right in my hands. Phil was dead. Dead of a heart attack, Dr. Landers would say. Oh, but wait a minute. Unless someone found those pills with the note from Phil. Phil hadn't died of poison, so I was safe. But there would be questions. Questions I didn't want to have asked. I had to find those pills myself. I started to search. First, the pillow under Phil's head. No. Then the nightstand beside his bed. And the desk under the window. No. Where could he have hidden it? After all, the bell. Could it be Phil's detective already? Rocky Rhodes? Oh, I'll have to be very careful. Just a minute. I'm coming. Just a minute. Yes? Well, don't stand there. It's raining in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm lost. I'm looking for Pine View Lodge.
Well, you are lost. There's a fisherman's net.
I know. I saw the sign.
It's closed for the winter.
Well, could you put me up?
The manager's away. There's only me and my husband.
Oh, the luck of the Irish. I meet a beautiful blonde, and she's married every time. You wouldn't turn me out in this storm. I'm soaking wet.
I'm afraid
Please, just tonight. In the morning, I'll get my bearings.
Well, if it's only for one night.
Yes, that's all. Thank you. Oh, what a vacation.
Where are you from?
Chicago, newspaper man. My name is Mike Sheldon.
How do you do, Mr. Sheldon? I'm Mrs. Weatherby.
How do you do? Where do I bunk? Upstairs?
Yes, you can take the trout room. Every room is named for a different kind of fish. It's the second room on the right from the top of the stairs.
Thank you. Great of you to let me stay.
Would you like some hot coffee?
Fine. No trouble.
Oh, not at all. I was going to make some for myself.
I could use some, all right.
No, wait.
What?
No, not that room. No.
What's wrong, Mrs. Weatherby?
Well, I said the second door on the right. The salmon room, not the trout room. I made a mistake. Forgive me, but this is my husband's room, and he's not well. I was afraid you'd wake him up. Oh, that was bad, very bad. Making a slip like that in front of Phil's detective, Rocky Rhodes. Because, of course, Mike Sheldon was Rocky Rhodes. Who else could he be? And I had to find those pills before he did and started making trouble. Before I could get back to the search, two more unexpected guests popped in at Fisherman's Net. A small, dapper man with a black mustache and slick black hair.
But I'm Charlie Miller. I got a reservation here, and I'm staying, sister.
But the manager is away. He didn't mention any reservation.
Well, he must have forgot then. I made it by telephone from KC. That is, I asked a friend of mine to make it.
Was it Phil? Was Charlie Miller Rocky Rhodes? Oh, he couldn't be a detective. He was too stupid. No, Mike Sheldon was Rocky Rhodes. There was a girl with Charlie Miller. I thought she was Mrs. Miller.
No, I'm Susan Quinn. Mr. Miller and I met on the bus.
Yeah, and we were great pals right off. I call her Susie Q. You get it?
Yes. But the initials on your suitcase are SR, Miss Quinn.
Oh, well, I borrowed my sister Sheila's suitcase. It's Sheila Riley. She's married. Sheila and I always borrow each other's things.
Was it true? Or was her name Susan Rhodes, nicknamed Rocky Rhodes? Things are getting more complicated every minute. Two men had arrived, and Sheldon seemed most like a detective. It was too late for me then to go on hunting for the pills. It was morning. In case questions were asked later, I had to be able to say I had done what a wife with a sick husband ought to do. I had to take Phil his breakfast on a tray.
Well, Mrs. W., hey, you're an early bird. Here, let me help you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Miller. This is my husband's breakfast. If you'll open the door.
Sure thing. There you are.
Thank you. Phil, dear, I brought you...
Something wrong, Mrs. W.?
My husband. He looked...
Anything I can do? Say, he does look pretty green at that. Mr. Weatherby. Hey, Mr. You better sit down, Mrs. Weatherby. It looks to me like your husband has passed away.
No.
No. Here, now. Just sit down. All right, now you just cry on Uncle Charlie's shoulder. It'll do you good.
You're very kind.
Well, morning.
Oh, say, Sheldon, got a little trouble here.
Trouble? Mrs. Weatherby?
Well, her husband's passed away in his sleep, it looks like.
I brought his breakfast. I thought he was asleep. And will somebody phone Phil's doctor? Dr. Landers in Salisbury Gap.
Well, of course, but...
Excuse me, I'm afraid I better go to my room.
Mrs. Weatherby. Miss Weatherby.
Oh, Miss Quinn. What happened? Have I been asleep?
When you got to your room, you fainted.
I still feel rather faint.
I brought you some brandy. Could you drink a little?
Not now. I couldn't. Where's Mr. Miller and Mr. Sheldon?
They're moving your husband's body.
No, they mustn't.
Well, Dr. Landers told Mike to on the phone. The rain turned to snow during the night, and he won't be able to get here because of the storm. Not until the snowplow gets through. So he thought it best we put Mr. Weatherby...
Not outdoors?
No. There's a hillside cellar out back.
Oh, yes. What else did Dr. Landers say about Phil?
He said it must have been a heart attack.
Oh.
And that you have nothing in the world with which to reproach yourself. He's sure you did everything you could.
For Suspense, Autolite is bringing you Miss Jane Wyman in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Say, Hap, look at that stack of Valentine.
Quite a pile, child. In fact, flocks will come.
No, they're not for me. They're Valentines to Autolite resistor spark plugs.
Oh.
Listen to this one. You've won my heart with your kisses and your hugses and a set of Autolite resistor spark plugses. How's that, Hap?
Ah, the spark of love.
Why, sure. Everybody loves Autolite wide gap resistor spark plugs. Replace your narrow gap plugs with these beauties to make your car idle smoother, give better performance with leaner gas mixtures, actually save gas dollars. Now, here's a Valentine that's right in line. Oh, Valentine, will you be mine, and will you make me happy? Put Autolite resistor spark plugs in my car, help make it smooth and snappy.
Boy, that's hitting on all six.
Well, naturally. Here's another Valentine that touches this old heart of mine. Oh, Autolite resistor spark plugs. With me, you are a fixture. You help my car run smoother far and go on lean gas mixture.
Say, Otto, that's the best yet. But right now, here's Suspense. And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Miss Jane Wyman as Margot in Catch Me If You Can. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
I kept up my act all that day, and I didn't overplay it. I'm not the type for floods of tears, so I adopted a wan, gentle sadness, which made the others think me very brave. But all the time, there were two things on my mind, driving me crazy. Who was Rocky Rhodes? And where had Phil hidden the pills? And I couldn't hunt for them. Somebody was always in my room fussing over me. Finally, in the late afternoon, I managed to get away. I just started to look through Phil's clothes when...
Oh, here you are. I was looking for you. No snowplow will get through here today. I'll just have to put up with Charlie Miller's jokes another evening.
Are his jokes that bad?
Well, you heard him ragging Susan, calling her Susie Q.
Oh, nicknames. Lots of people have the nickname habit. My husband had a friend named Rhodes he nicknamed Rocky Rhodes.
It's a change from Dusty Rhodes, at any rate. By the way, where are you from?
Boston. Why do you ask?
Oh, just idle curiosity.
You know what they say about curiosity. Would you excuse me, please? I was going over my husband's things.
Yeah, go right ahead. I'll just keep you company. Looking for something?
No. I want to pack so I can leave as soon as possible. I want to get back to New York.
I don't blame you. Need any help?
No, thank you. As a matter of fact, would you mind? I'd rather be alone.
No, it's not good for you to be alone. I'll just stay here and keep you company.
Nosy.
Did you say something?
No,
Here's a book of Oscar Wilde. Why don't I read to you while you work? Let me see. Did your husband own all these shoes?
He did.
Wealthy man, apparently. How nice for you. Now, how about some poetry? Let's try this one. The poor dead woman whom he loved and murdered in her bed. Shall I go on, Mrs. Weatherby?
But I couldn't let Sheldon unnerve me. I had to keep cool. I went on packing, and he went on reading, on and on endlessly, about blood and prisons and hangings, while I tried not to miss anything of Phil's. I had to have those pills. An hour later in my room, I knew I didn't have them. But Rocky Rhodes didn't have them yet either. Otherwise, he would have said something. But the pills didn't have to be in Phil's room. Which one was Rhodes? Miller or Sheldon? I would have to find out by elimination. After dinner that night, I went into the main parlor. And Charlie Miller grabbed me and danced me over to the fire.
Here you are, Mrs. W. Now, you just sit right here and have a highball, see? And we'll have a nice little cozy chat with little old Charlie.
Oh, you're so formal, Charlie. Call me Margot.
Margot? I'll bet your mother called you Maggie. You thought up Margot to use on the stage.
On the stage? How did you know I was an actress? This was the clue I've been looking for.
Oh, a guy with my experience can always tell.
You can?
Sure. And I know how you actresses operate. You all take different monikers. I'll bet you were great, baby.
Oh, I wasn't very good. There was only one way that Miller could have known about my being on the stage. From Phil.
You weren't very good. I know different, baby. So what if you only played Tank Towns? I sure wish I'd seen you.
You didn't miss much, really. Tank Towns. That was Phil's story, all right. Miller was Rocky Rhodes. And he was just drunk enough to handle.
Hey, look. How about you and me going up to my room where we can be alone, huh?
That wouldn't look right, Charlie. We could go out and sit in my car. It's in the garage.
Got a heater?
And the radio. The hotel radio's broken. We can say that's why we're going, to listen to the music.
Wonderful. Hey, you're a wonderful little woman, Maggie. Full of ideas. It's not a bad little wagon, baby, but this front seat is so full of steering wheel. Oh, let's get in the back.
Oh, it doesn't heat as well in the back.
How about a drink?
You first.
Okay. Right out of the bottle. Oh, boy, this is what I call living. Music, plenty of bourbon, and a beautiful blonde. Never saw such a beautiful blonde. Can I give Charlie a kiss? Oh, wow. Sweet as molasses. Get warm enough now, baby. Plenty warm. Could turn off that heater.
I'm still a little cold, Charlie.
Huh?
Just stay close to me. In a minute, we'll turn it off. Then slowly he sagged against me, and his head fell on my shoulder, and when I pushed him away, he fell forward against the steering wheel. I hope nobody heard that. I gotta get out of here before it gets me, too. I kept on my feet, going around the car. I was dizzy, getting numb. Then a few feet from the garage door, I keeled over. For a minute or more, I could move. And then I crawled toward the door. It took forever to get there. I opened the door somehow, pushed it shut, and half fell out and lay in the snow. Breathing the clean air. Thanking my lucky stars, I've been smart enough not to drink. That's why it got Charlie sooner, because he was drunk. I looked at my watch and decided to wait 15 minutes. What a wonderful thing that carbon monoxide is. No smell, no nothing. It just creeps up on you. In 15 minutes, Charlie Miller, alias Rocky Rhodes, would be good and dead. He was dead, all right. When they found us, they carried me into the house and gave me a drink and put me to bed. I went right to sleep knowing Rocky Rhodes was dead. When I woke up, I remembered. The car key. I had said Charlie started the car, but somebody might think to check the key for fingerprints and find mine. I put on a fur coat over my nightgown and ran all the way to the garage. I got in the car, reached for the keys, and they weren't there. Why? Why would anybody take my keys? And who would take them? Rocky Rhodes? No, he was dead. What was he? Had I killed the wrong man? I don't know how I ever got through breakfast.
That's too bad about Charlie, Margot. Stop worrying about it. It wasn't your fault. You look tired. You want to take a walk? Get some fresh air?
I don't feel up to it.
I was planning to go up to that lookout cabin on the peak.
No. I'm too lazy for that. I mean a short walk.
Is it a long climb, Mrs. Weatherby?
Long and steep, believe me. I only made it up there once. But my husband used to go there often.
I guess a good climb will do me good. Think I'll try it alone. Bye. I'll be back before dark.
Bye. Be careful, Susan.
I didn't even hear her leave. I was thinking about Phil's walk to the lookout cabin. There was where he'd hidden the pills. I knew it. I knew it in my bones. Why hadn't I thought of it before? Oh, I'd have to hurry. I couldn't let anyone find those pills except me. I managed to get away from the men and slipped out by the back door without being seen. A ladder goes up from the trail to the lookout door. The door of the cabin stood open. I climbed the ladder quietly and stepped in and saw Susan on the other side of the room near the door to the balcony. She was holding an envelope attached to a card, and she was reading the card. And suddenly, definitely, I knew. Miss Rocky Rhodes, I presume.
Oh, you scared me, Mrs. Weatherby.
I see you found what you're looking for. The pills my husband hid. You want to know if they're really poisonous?
Oh, I read this card. Is it some kind of a joke?
Oh, no, it's no joke. One of them would kill a man. But that's not what killed Phil. I smothered him with a pillow. You didn't know that, did you?
Oh, you shouldn't be telling me this.
Phil told me you were coming, but I was expecting a man. I never dreamed Rocky Rhodes was a woman.
Oh, you've mistaken me for someone else, really.
Oh, come off it. You're already responsible for Charlie Miller's death, coming here under an assumed name. I killed him because I thought he was Rocky Rhodes.
Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, you're ill, Mrs. Weatherby. You're imagining.
Stay where you are. You think you'll get out of here alive? I wouldn't go out that door if I were you. You'd step right off into blank space.
But you can't do these things. They'll catch you.
Who? How? Those pills are the only evidence against me, and I'll destroy them as soon as you're gone.
Will you?
Stop! Stay where you are. You fool! What good does that do you throwing them out? Watch where they fall. There. Right on the path. They'll stay there until I go down. But you played your last card. I'm not going to waste any more time.
Let go, Mrs. Weatherby. Let go!
You're going over the edge, Susie. You're going to be another tragic accident.
No.
Let go of that table, you fool! Inch by inch, we're getting there. Now, out on the porch.
I'll pull you over with me.
Will you? Will you really?
Oh, someone's coming. Someone's climbing the trail. It's mine.
You're crazy.
Mine.
Let go! Really? Let go of it! Stop! I remember falling, then a sharp pain. Then I don't remember anymore until I woke up here in the snow and found you bending over me. Who are you? Where did you come from?
I just came up from the village, Mrs. Weatherby. We know the whole story.
The whole story?
Now, just take it easy, Mrs. Weatherby.
Oh, I know. You must be a doctor. But, doctor, they'll never hang me.
No, Mrs. Weatherby. They'll never hang you. You're dying now.
No. No, I can't die. After all I've had to do to live. Where did Mike go?
I'm right here, Mrs. Weatherby.
Like a vulture waiting for me to die. You're Rocky Rhodes, aren't you, Mike?
No, Mrs. Weatherby.
You're lying. It has to be you. I killed Charlie, and he wasn't Rocky Rhodes. And Susan wasn't. You have to be. I have to know. I have to kill Rocky, or I've done it all for nothing. Rocky Rhodes mustn't find those poison pills.
Your husband didn't die from poison, Mrs. Weatherby. So you would have been safe even if the pills were found.
But Rocky Rhodes...
None of those people was Rocky Rhodes. Your own guilt made you suspicious of everything they did.
But there must be a Rocky Rhodes. Bill said there was. There has to be a Rocky. Oh.
Is she dead, Doctor?
I'm afraid she is.
And there I was being sorry for her husband being dead. Just think. She killed her husband and one of us, and none of us would ever have known it if she hadn't told Susan all about it in the cabin. It was good of you to get here so fast, Doctor.
Well, I'd have gotten here sooner if it hadn't been for the blizzard. Maybe none of this would have happened. By the way, I'm not a doctor, Mr. Sheldon. My name is Rhodes. Rocky Rhodes.
Thank you, Jane Wyman, for a splendid performance.
Miss Wyman, would you do me a favor?
I'd be glad to, Mr. Wilcox.
Would you autograph my script?
Why, certainly. What shall I write?
Well, why not just write to ALRSP Wilcox from Jane Wyman?
ALRSP? What does that stand for?
Auto light resistor spark plugs.
Oh, of course. I should have known. A plug for plug.
Why, sure.
Well, ALRSP it is. There. How's that?
Thank you. And did you know, Miss Wyman, that besides Autolite resistor spark plugs, Autolite makes over 400 other products for cars, trucks, airplanes, and boats in 28 Autolite plants from coast to coast. Autolite makes complete electrical systems for many makes of America's finest cars, batteries, generators, starting motors, coils, distributors, all ignition engineered to meet the highest standards of leading automotive engineers. So, folks, tomorrow, treat your car to an expert motor tune-up. Visit your local Autolite service station listed in your classified telephone directory or the dealer who sells your make of car. And be sure to specify original factory parts. You're right with Autolite.
And now, in introducing again our star, Miss Jane Wyman, I wish also to extend to her, on behalf of our sponsor and all of us here on Suspense, our sincere congratulations on her nomination for the Academy Award for her splendid performance in the current Warner Brothers picture, Johnny Belinda, and to wish her the best of luck in balloting.
Thank you very much. And may I congratulate Suspense for being one of the top radio programs on the air. Truly radio's outstanding theater of thrills.
Thank you, Miss Wyman.
And I'll be listening next week when James Mason and his lovely wife, Pamela Calino, appear in the Agatha Christie story, Where There's a Will. Another gripping study in...
Suspense.
Tonight's suspense play was adapted by Sylvia Richards from the current best-selling mystery by Pat McGear. Music was composed by Lucian Morawek and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader.
Autolite resistor spark plugs have been adopted as original factory equipment by 6 leading makes of cars and trucks. So, switch to Autolite. Good night.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
And now, Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations present...
Suspense. Tonight, Autolite brings you James Mason and Pamela Calino in Agatha Christie's Where There's a Will, a suspense play produced and directed by Anton M. Leader.
Friends, have you ever been in a dilemma? I mean, in a fix, like having to get started in a hurry and your motor won't turn over? Well, what you need is an Autolite Stay Full battery, that dandy dynamic battery you can definitely depend on. Why, by Cornelius, an Autolite Stay Full battery needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. You can say bravura for that Aquapura. Plenty of extra liquid reserve. Yes, sirree. And it has extra plates in every cell. That means longer life and stronger life. What's more, those plates are protected against loss by fiberglass insulation. I can't say enough about Autolite Stay Full batteries, those marvelous marvels with more liquid reserve than Hollywood has stars. So get wise. Get an Autolite Stay Full. Remember, you're right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite presents James Mason and Pamela Colino in a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
And now, Mr. Jepson, you really must let me make you a whiskey and soda. I have some excellent scotch.
Never mind that, Ridgway. I've come to find out when you can raise 10,000 pounds.
I see. Yes, I see. Well, Mr. Jepson, 10,000 pounds is a great deal of money.
It's what's needed to cover your notes.
Yes, that's right. But you know, Mr. Jepson, you might just let me write you one more IOU and try again.
Your luck's run out, Ridgway.
Oh, well, I wasn't much of a gambler anyhow, was I? Perhaps it's just as well I've learned my lesson. How long, Mr. Jepson, would you say I have to raise the money?
4 weeks.
I see, 4 weeks. And if I should fail to raise the money? I see. Well, you make yourself very clear, Mr. Jepson. But then perhaps all's not lost. Mrs. Harter, my aunt, has had the foresight to draw up a new will, making me her heir. The money was to go to a niece, my cousin Miriam, but now a new will's been drawn up. Aunt Mary finds me much more satisfactory than poor Miriam. The very spirit of solicitude I am, forever inquiring about her health, about her poor weak heart. 4 weeks. Is that right, Mr. Jepson?
That's right, Ridgway. Or else.
I see. Or else. That's when it began. That, plus the fortunate circumstance of the new will in my favor, decided me on my plan. Now, murder wouldn't look right. Nobody else living in the house but Aunt Mary and I, and Elizabeth, the maid. And since I would benefit by 40,000 pounds, no, murder would not look right. Besides, I was fond of Aunt Mary. Well, a day or so after Mr. Jepson's visit, there occurred to me a rather whimsical idea for a practical joke. The first thing was to determine the degree of weakness of Aunt Mary's weak heart. And so I arranged an appointment for her with Dr. Meynell, the heart specialist in Harley Street.
Just have a chair, Mr. Ridgway.
Thank you, Dr. Meynell.
Now, Mr. Ridgway, as you requested, I've gone over your Aunt Mrs. Harter thoroughly.
Yes?
And there is a heart weakness.
How dreadful.
But not terribly serious, Charles, Dr. Meynell says.
But my poor dear Aunt Mary.
Dear Charles.
Naturally, you're shocked, Mr. Ridgway, but with the least care, she'll live to be 90, I should think. However, her mind must be kept well distracted.
Mind distracted?
Yes, distraction for the mind and no sudden shocks. That's most important. No sudden shocks.
I see. Well, thank you, Doctor.
Not at all. Out this way, my private exit. No use going through the waiting room again, eh? Well, good day, Mrs. Harter.
Good day, Doctor.
Goodbye, Doctor.
Oh, I say, Ridgway.
Yes?
I minimized your aunt's condition just a bit. Didn't want to alarm her. You understand.
Yes, of course.
But what I said about no shocks, no frights, most important. A good fright might very well carry her off.
I see. Well, thank you, Doctor. The next step was the radio. Aunt Mary must have a radio.
But, Charles, you know I don't care for newfangled things. We've got on quite well without a wireless. I don't see why we should have one now.
But don't you remember what Dr. Meynell said, Aunt Mary? The mind distracted, well distracted. Those were his very words. You know, I'm only thinking of your heart.
I know you are, dear Charles.
That's better, Aunt Mary. That's more like yourself.
You are a comfort to me, Charles.
Thank you, Aunt Mary. Now, about the radio.
But really,
Now. You really ought to trust my judgment. I'm a bit of an expert on radio, you know. Before the war, I even had a small sender station of my own. Some of the equipment's still in one of my boxes somewhere about. So, you see, I know.
But the waves, Charles. The electric waves. They might affect me.
There's no more electricity about it than there is about an electric light. Radio waves aren't electric.
But, Charles, Well, I must say it makes a frightful noise.
We'll have it tuned in a minute. Here we are.
What is it?
It's Spanish, Auntie. Madrid propaganda. Yes, France. What do you think of that? You can tune in the whole world, You see, Aunt Mary, radio waves converging from all over the world on this little box. From Madrid, Paris, New York, and beyond. Beyond. Who knows how far beyond?
Well, I must say, Charles, you're quite poetic about it.
Am I? Yes. Yes, I suppose I am. That was the first inkling I had that my little practical joke was going to be fun. The acting and coaxing poor dear Aunt Mary along bit by bit. Every evening she'd sit by the radio listening to the news on the BBC Home Service and the classical music on the third program. Then, one morning, I attached a wire into the radio while she was still in bed, ran it along under the carpet into the small anteroom of the sitting room where the radio stood, took the hand microphone left over from my amateur sending days and hooked it to the other end of the wire. And everything was all ready. That evening, I backed the car out of the garage and started off for my regular Wednesday evening of bridge. But I drove only a short way, then parked behind a hedge and walked back to the house. I let myself in the side door and went into the small room off the sitting room where Aunt Mary sat alone listening to the radio. It was the third program, a program of Beethoven. I opened the door the slightest crack. The moment had come, and I felt my heart beating with strange emotion. I saw in my mind's eye Aunt Mary and the dimly lit sitting room, and I almost felt the mood she must be feeling as she sat dreamily immersed in the shifting strains of music. I picked up the microphone and... Mary. Can you hear me, Mary? This is Patrick.
What?
This is Patrick, your husband, speaking. From the other side. I am coming for you soon. Will you be ready, Mary?
Patrick.
Will you be ready, Mary?
Patrick!
For Suspense, Autolite is bringing you James Mason and Pamela Collino in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Say, Hap, I spent Washington's birthday telling my young nephew the story of George Washington. What a great man he was. How he always told the truth.
Well, that was nice of you, Harlow. This younger generation should know about George Washington.
And to illustrate, I told him how I always tell the truth about Autolite Stay Full batteries.
What?
Those marvelous, wonderful get-up-and-get batteries with the extra reserve of water. Why, son, I told him a camel is practically dehydrated compared to an Autolite Stay Full battery. Because an Autolite Stay Full battery needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
But, Harlow, you were telling your nephew about George...
Always tell the truth, I told him. Like I tell the people about the punchy power for peppy performance packed in an Autolite Stay Full battery because of that ample sample of H2O. Yes, by Cornelius, I told him an Autolite Stay Full battery needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. That extra liquid reserve means longer life and stronger life. I told him about the fiberglass insulation between plates that adds months to the life of an Autolite Stay Full battery.
Well, I'm sure the kid learned a lot about George Washington. But wait, here's Suspense.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage James Mason, who will be joined by his wife, Pamela Collino, in Where There's a Will, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
After I'd spoken with the voice of Aunt Mary's dead husband, I waited a moment. Then, very cautiously, I looked into the sitting room. Aunt Mary was sitting bolt upright, transfixed. Then a sob broke from her as she looked toward the radio, which was now innocently transmitting the BBC third program again. I had to bite my lips to keep from laughing. But Aunt Mary said nothing about her experience, so I was obliged, the 4th morning after that, at breakfast, to say casually,
Oh, I say, Aunt Mary.
Yes, Charles.
I was just wondering. Last evening.
Yes, Charles.
Aunt Mary, who's that funny old boy up in the spare room? The picture, that is. You know, the picture over the mantelpiece, the old boy with the beaver and the side whiskers?
Well, really, Charles, your tone is most disrespectful.
I'm sorry.
It's your Uncle Patrick, Charles. My late husband.
Oh, I say, I'm sorry. I'd no idea. After all, I never did know him, Aunt Mary.
Very well, Charles.
You see, I wondered. It was queer.
Queer? What's queer? Are you trying to say something, Charles?
Oh, no, not really. It's nothing. Nothing that makes any sense, I mean.
I wish you would tell me what it was that made you ask me about the picture of your uncle.
Well, if you will have it, I fancied I saw him.
Saw him?
The man in the picture, I mean, looking out of the end window when I was coming up the drive last night.
What?
Yeah. And later on, I happened to drift into the spare room, and there was the picture up over the mantelpiece, the same man. It's all quite easy to explain, really. I expect subconscious and all that. I must have noticed the picture before without realizing it, and then just fancied the face in the window. Aunt Mary, is something the matter?
Charles, my husband's face. Did you see it in the end window?
Why, yes. Why?
Only that was Patrick's. Your late uncle's dressing room, Charles.
The very absurdity of the story I made poor Aunt Mary believe was the fun. The clever, roundabout way I played my role. The following Wednesday night, I pretended to go and play bridge again. I concealed myself in the room off the sitting room just as before, took up the microphone, and spoke from the other world in the same sepulchral tones. Mary, on Friday, I shall come for you. Friday at 9:30. At 9:30. Do not be afraid. There will be no pain. Be ready, Mary.
When I came into her bedroom the next morning, Aunt Mary was speaking to Elizabeth in a most businesslike manner.
Now, here you are, Elizabeth. I want you to take this letter I've written.
Yes, Ma'am.
I wrote it last evening. If anything should happen Friday evening, you understand me?
Yes, Ma'am. Friday evening? That's my night out.
So it is, and you go right ahead. However, if anything shall have happened by the time you get back on Saturday, I want this letter delivered to Dr. Mayle.
Yes, Ma'am.
Now, the top left-hand drawer of my bureau, it's locked. The long key with a white label. Everything in the drawer is ready.
Ready, Ma'am?
For my burial.
Oh, Ma'am, why, what are you saying? I thought you was in a sight better health.
Never mind that, Elizabeth. Don't be maudlin.
Ma'am.
Elizabeth, did I ever tell you how much I've left you in my will?
Oh, no, Ma'am.
Well, I can't seem to remember. It was £50 in the old will, but did I raise it to 100? Well, at any rate, I want you to have £100. I'll have to look into it. But if anything should happen before I do, then Mr. Charles will see to it.
Did I hear my name mentioned, dear Aunt Mary?
Oh, good morning, Charles. Yes, I was just saying to Elizabeth, I don't know if I've left her 50 or 100 pounds. But if anything should happen to me, it's to be 100 pounds.
Well, I must say, that's a gloomy thing to be thinking about.
Oh, Mr. Charles, does she think carrying on most awful just now?
What's this?
That's enough, Elizabeth. You may go now.
Yes, Ma'am. Yes, Ma'am.
Well, now, just what in the world is all this about? Suppose you tell me just what's going to happen to dear Aunt Mary.
Charles, what do you plan to be doing Friday evening?
Friday evening? Well, as a matter of fact, the Ewings asked me to go in and play bridge. But if you'd rather I stayed at home...
No, Charles. Actually, I prefer to be alone.
Well, just as you wish.
You know, I think I'll have Mr. Hopkinson send me the will. I want to find out about the bequest to Elizabeth. It's either 50 or 100 pounds. The rest, dear Charles, of course, goes to you.
Yes, dear Aunt Mary. Whatever you say. Friday evening, I picked that night because I knew it was Elizabeth's night off, and I wanted to be sure there was no one about. Friday evening, at 8 o'clock, I drove away, waited for an hour to elapse, then slipped back into the house. I looked through the crack in the door and saw Aunt Mary sitting in the high-backed chair beside the radio. As I listened, the 9 o'clock news ended, and a program of music was about to begin. It was 9:15. 15 minutes till the appointed time for the arrival of the dead Patrick. This time, I did not touch the microphone. I went upstairs. opened a camphor chest of old clothes in the spare room, took a tube of spirit gum from my pocket, and bent forward intently in front of a mirror. Sharp on the instant of 9:30, there was a fumbling at the outer door of the house, and the front door slowly opened. And then there were slow, halting footsteps along the short hall to the sitting room, where an old woman waited. And then the sitting room door opened. The time has come, Mary.
Patrick, I'm ready.
My practical joke had worked to perfection. Aunt Mary's poor old heart couldn't stand the strain of seeing her dead husband, Patrick, arrive in person to carry her off into the spirit world. I stepped over the body, which had fallen dangerously near the burning fire in the grate. I took the poker and thrust some folds of paper that were lying in the ash into the fire to bring up a blaze, and in the blaze burned the false beard and side whiskers. I detached the wire fixed into the radio and took wire and microphone upstairs. I undressed and replaced Uncle Patrick's old-fashioned suit of clothes in the camphor chest in the spare room where I'd found it. Then I dressed again and went off to play bridge at the Ewings. 2 days later.
This is Mrs. Harter's... this was Mrs. Harter's residence. Oh, just a moment. It's Mr. Jepson, sir.
All right, I'll take it. You may go, Elizabeth.
Yes, sir.
Ridgway here. Anything wrong?
Not yet. I just wanted you to know that I read about it in the Daily Standard, Ridgway.
A pity about poor dear Aunt Mary, don't you think, Mr. Jepson?
A pity. And let me remind you, you have 1 week left.
I haven't forgotten. Once the newspapers announce my inheritance of £40,000, I'll have no difficulty borrowing. And then I'll pay up.
Good. Only remember this, Ridgway. You don't pay up and I send you to the same place you sent to your Aunt Mary. You understand? Or maybe it wouldn't be quite the same place, Ridgway. Now that you've got murder on your soul. Understand?
I understand, Mr. Jepson. And then, that evening, Dr. Manel came to the house.
I really did think you'd want to see this.
You say Elizabeth brought it to you?
Yes. She said it was one of Mrs. Harter's last requests that she do so.
As a matter of fact, I do seem to remember... Yes, and I do recall seeing her give Elizabeth some such envelope as that. You read the contents?
That's what's queer. Here, suppose you have a look for yourself.
All right. Tonight, Wednesday, at 9:15, I have distinctly heard the voice of my dead husband. He told me that he would come for me on Friday night at 9:30. If I should die on that day and at that hour, I should like the facts made known so as to prove beyond question the possibility of communicating with the spirit world. Mary Harter.
What do you make of it?
I hardly know.
It's a coincidence, to say the least. She did die at nearly that very hour, 9:30 Friday night.
But I don't understand.
In the circumstances, an autopsy is desirable, you understand, purely as a matter of form.
Yes. Yes, of course. Why not? Of course, everything must be done according to form. What's the matter with you, Charles? Have you lost your sense of humor? Finally, 5 days later...
Mr. Hopkinson is here to see you, sir.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That'll be all.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Ridgway. Frightful morning.
Mr. Hopkinson, about Mrs. Harter's, my aunt's, will...
I did not quite understand your insistent messages to me, Mr. Ridgway. You seem to be under the impression the late Mrs. Harter's will was in our keeping.
Why, yes. I've often heard my aunt say as much.
Oh, quite so. It was in our keeping.
Was?
That is what I said. Mrs. Harter wrote to us, however, asking that it be forwarded to her. There seemed to be some haste to the matter. At any rate, we got it out to her at once. She would have received it on Friday, the day of her death.
I do seem to remember her making mention of it. Something about the bequest to Elizabeth. She wanted to check the amount. It must be about the house somewhere, then.
Elizabeth has been through Mrs. Harter's personal effects, I believe.
Yes, just a moment. I'll call her. Elizabeth?
Yes, Mr. Charles?
Elizabeth, come here a moment, please.
Yes, sir?
Elizabeth, when you went through Mrs. Harter's things, was her will among them?
No, sir.
You're sure, Elizabeth?
Yes, sir. You see, I know what it looked like. The poor mistress had it in her hand the very evening of her death when she sent me out.
You're sure of that?
Oh, yes, sir. She pointed out that about the £50 to me, sir. She said if she'd told you to give me the other £50. Not that I mentioned it to press you.
No, of course not.
The will was in a long blue envelope, sir.
Quite right.
The same blue envelope, Mr. Charles, sir, was lying on the radio table by her chair the morning after. But empty, sir.
It was the envelope in which I dispatched the will to your aunt, Mr. Ridgway. Mr. Ridgway, was there a fire in the grate on Friday evening?
Yes, of course.
I see.
What are you driving at, Hopkinson?
I'm afraid, Mr. Ridgway, only one conclusion is possible. Your aunt sent for her will in order to destroy it.
What?
Yes, Mr. Ridgway.
But why? Why?
You had no disagreement with your aunt, Mr. Ridgway?
Not at all. We were on the most affectionate terms right up to the end.
Of course. Quite. Mr. Ridgway, you will understand. Under the circumstances, we were obliged to investigate.
Investigate? What do you mean?
It happened that there is a former will of Mrs. Harter still extant. By it, Mrs. Harter leaves everything to her niece, to your cousin, Miriam.
To Miriam? Yes, but...
As for the more recent will sent by me before her death to Mrs. Harter, it must have been burned in the grate.
Burned? The will was burned.
Mr. Charles, can I get you something?
No, I'll be all right. You may go, Elizabeth.
Yes.
I'll run along, too, Mr. Ridgway, if there's nothing further.
No, I'll telephone.
Quite. And yet there would seem to be little use for that. We've notified your cousin Miriam of her inheritance. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised you didn't know all this yourself. You see, we sent word round to the press yesterday. Well, good day, Mr. Ridgway.
Good day. I remembered some folds of paper that I thrust into the fire to make it blaze up and burn the false beard and side whiskers with which I'd frightened an old lady to death. And then I remembered something falling. A paper. A will. From an old woman's fingers as she stood frozen in terror too near the fire. I saw the fire again, consuming something. Consuming the will. All my cleverness.
Your maid said you went in, but I thought she was lying. I don't like liars, Ridgway.
Mr. Jepson,
I read the papers. I read who's going to inherit your aunt's money. I don't like liars.
But I did think I was going to inherit, or why would I have killed her?
You killed her?
Of course.
Oh, so you did kill her.
How many times do you want me to say it?
I believe that'll do. All right, Inspector. That's what I wanted you to hear. Come in.
What?
And bring in the maid, too.
That was very clever of you, Mr. Gibson. I must confess, I had my doubts. Now, Mr. Ridgway, you'd better come along.
But I was only joking.
Young woman,
Yes, sir?
you heard Mr. Ridgway say he killed his aunt?
I did, sir, but he must have been joking.
Never mind, that's enough. By the way, Mr. Ridgway, you'll be interested in knowing, I'm sure, that we checked with Dr. Manell on the autopsy. According to his report, your aunt's heart was so weak, she could not have lived another month.
What are you laughing at?
That's your joke, old man. Oh, your joke.
Yes. It is funny, isn't it? Very funny.
Thank you, James Mason and Pamela Colino, for a splendid performance. Now, Harlow Wilcox.
Friends, Autolite Stay Full batteries need water only 3 times a year in normal car use. And they're made by Autolite men who make over 400 products for cars, trucks, airplanes, and boats in 28 Autolite plants from coast to coast. Yes, sirree. Autolite also makes complete electrical systems for many makes of America's finest cars. Batteries, spark plugs, generators, starting motors, coils, distributors. All ignition engineered to fit together perfectly, work together perfectly, because they're a perfect team. So, folks, don't accept electrical parts supposed to be as good. Ask for and insist on Autolite original factory parts at your neighborhood service station, car dealer, garage, or repair shop. Remember, you're always right with Autolite.
Now, here again is
James Mason and wife
Pamela Colino.
I hope you both enjoyed being on Suspense tonight, and especially you, Mrs. Mason, even though the part of Elizabeth was small.
Oh, yes, it was a lot of fun. You see, James and I learned a long time ago that it's not how large the part is, but how much fun you have playing it. Besides, next time, Tony Leader has promised to find a script for me, in which James can play a butler or a cat or something.
How about that, Mr. Mason?
I'm looking forward to it. And we're looking forward, too, to next week when Joan Fontaine will star in The Lovebirds, another gripping study in
Suspense.
James Mason and Pamela Colino have just completed the book, The Cats in Our Lives. Tonight's suspense play was adapted from the Agatha Christie story by William Fifield. Music was composed by Lucian Morawek and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. Now, here is great news. Beginning March 1st, Suspense on television may be seen in many areas of the country, Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
You can buy Autolite electrical parts, Autolite resistor spark plugs, Autolite stay-full batteries at your neighborhood Autolite dealer. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
And now, Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations present
Suspense. Tonight, Autolite brings you Miss Joan Fontaine in Lovebirds, a suspense play produced and directed by Anton M. Leader.
Friends, replace old narrow gap spark plugs with wide gap Autolite resistor spark plugs. Your car will idle smoother, give you better performance on leaner gas mixtures, actually save gas dollars. It's the new thing. Yes, sirree, friends, Autolite regular type spark plugs have long been standard factory equipment on many leading makes of cars and trucks. And now six of these leading makes of cars and trucks have switched to the new Autolite resistor type spark plugs for factory installation on their new 1949 models. The new Autolite resistor spark plugs are the spark plugs of today and the future. Remember, you're right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite presents Miss Joan Fontaine in a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
You know, Sam, I used to laugh, just as everyone else does, when I heard someone say,
I've given you the best years of my life.
But it's not funny to me anymore. No, because that's what I've done, Sam. I've given you the best years of my life, waiting for you to die. But you wouldn't die. For 7 years you've been hanging on, and I've been playing a part. Playing it so well that people call us the Lovebirds. Lovebirds. Ah, now here it is, our 7th anniversary. You wanted to show off that portrait you had painted of me to Doug and Betty Wilson and Doc Roberts and the others. You were proud. They were envious. I was sick.
Yep, that's Martha, all right down to the last eyelash.
Like it, Doc?
Perfect, Sam, just perfect. The perfect portrait of the perfect girl. Well, it's after midnight, and I'm a 9 o'clock guy.
Yeah, I've got to shove off, too. How's the asthma these days, Sam?
Oh, seems to be getting better, Doug. But my arthritis...
Don't blame you, Sam. If I had Martha to look out for me, I'd stay sick, too.
Oh, now.
Here's your coat, Doc.
Oh, thanks, Martha.
Now, Doug, where did
The hall closet, I'll get it.
Oh, get mine too, darling.
Coming up.
Oh, it was a lovely party, Martha.
Thank you.
And let me tell you, Mrs. Lovebird, if you keep on taking the kind of care of old Sam you have been, we'll all be here for number 50.
Oh, go on, Doc.
I'm serious. When you two first got hitched, I wouldn't give you 2 years, Sam. Now I'd give even money you'll make...
Hold on in.
Oh, it's nothing, Doug. Here, I'll put it away.
Darn box fell off the shelf when I reached for my hat. Here, let me put it
No,
away.
Doug, please, it's nothing.
You fellas keeping secrets?
What's the trouble, Doug?
Well, looky here. Travel folders. A whole box full of them. Alluring Alaska. Acapulco. 30-day cruise. San Moritz. Capri.
Say, what is
Oh,
it?
come on, Sam. Spill it. You two lovebirds planning to migrate somewhere?
News to me.
They're mine, Doug.
Oh.
Well, Martha's kind of a pack rat. Keeps all kinds of trash stowed away in strange corners.
Yeah.
You wouldn't kid us, Sam. You're not really planning a trip. Because it's out of the question, you know.
Out of the question, Doc said. It sounded so final, Sam. Out of the question. It ran through my mind over and over after they got and I stood washing the pile of dishes in the kitchen. Out of the question.
How are you coming with the dishes, Angel?
I could feel your hand, thin and dead white, touching my shoulder, and I wanted to scream. What right had you to touch me? Why did I have to bear your half-dead hands when I was alive?
What's the matter, honey? You're kind of quiet.
I feel quiet, I guess.
Uh-huh. Say, where are my glasses?
I don't know.
Doggone it, I never can remember where I put the darn things. I'm blind as a bat without them.
Look in the front room on the mantel.
A lot of good that'd do. I can't find my glasses without my glasses. Take a look for me, will you?
But my hands are wet, Sam. Can't you wait until morning?
Gotta have them now.
All right, but I can't see why you need them in bed.
It's these sleeping pills. Jim was out of my kind and gave me these. Said they were just as good, but I can't read the directions.
But is it that important?
Well, of course it's important. Why, just the other day I read where a fellow in Chicago took a couple too many and bingo.
Oh, I'll see if your glasses are on the mantel, Sam. I leaned back against the wall for a minute. Out of the question. It was ringing in my head like a bell. Out of the question. And Sam, right then, I knew I couldn't take it any longer. I went into the living room, picked up the pair of glasses on the mantel. 7 years, 7 long years of caring for you like a baby. One sickness after another. Everyone in the book. You nearly died a dozen times. And each time I saved you. That's what everyone said, even the doctor. What a joke. Here I was, waiting for you to die, but you wouldn't, Sam. You wouldn't have the decency to die and leave me the money so I could get away from this little town and live like a normal human being.
Find them, darling?
No, Sam. These are my glasses.
Mine ought to be in here somewhere.
Well, it's too late tonight to worry about them, darling. Here, let me see those new pills.
Yeah. Take a look.
Mm-hmm. These are different. Says 2% instead of 5. 6 pills instead of 2.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They don't sound very good, Sam. I'll try to get some of your regular kind next time I go to Chicago.
6, huh?
Mm-hmm. That's what it says.
Funny. Jim didn't say anything about it.
Hadn't you better get ready for bed? It's nearly 1.
In a minute. Martha, would you tell me something honestly?
Of course. What is it?
Well, that business about the travel folders. Oh, I suppose it's nothing, but, well, somehow I can't get it out of my head.
What about the travel folders?
Martha, would you really like to go to those far-off places? Just you and me?
Don't be silly. You know what Doc Roberts said.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you if you wanted to go with me. It's awfully important to me now, Martha. Whether you'd want to go with me.
Why worry about it? You know we can't go.
That's why I need you worse than ever, Martha. That's why I guess it kind of hurts me to find you collecting travel folders. Like you wanted to get away from me. Well, I guess you're right. I'd better get up to bed.
I watched you go up the stairs, and I put the glasses back on the mantel. Your glasses, Sam, not mine. I waited a long time downstairs, listening to you shuffling around in your sandals. Heard the bathroom faucet go on, and I knew you were taking your pills. 6 pills instead of 2. Then there was the shuffling again, and quiet. The hall clock struck 1. Then 2. Then I couldn't wait any longer. I went upstairs to your room. Sam? Sam? I turned on the light. Sam! Wake up! Sam! Sam, can you hear me? Sam! It's working. It's working.
For Suspense, Autolite is bringing you Miss Joan Fontaine in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
The newspaper says smart men are now wearing pastel-colored shirts for business.
Well, now that you mention it, Hap, I have noticed a trend among smart men. Smart men are replacing old narrow gap spark plugs with wide gap Autolite resistor spark plugs because they make a car idle smoother, give better performance on leaner gas mixtures, actually save gas dollars. Why, when you install a set of the new Autolite resistor spark plugs, you can tell the difference in your car.
This article says Petunia Pink is getting a great reception.
Reception? Autolite resistor spark plugs cut down spark plug interference with radio and television reception.
And it says only this style offers smart men the advantages
Only Autolite offers smart car and truck owners everywhere the sensational advantages of new resistor-type spark plugs. So head for your nearest Autolite dealer and replace old narrow gap spark plugs with Autolite ignition-engineered resistor spark plugs. Your car will be glad you did.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Joan Fontaine as Martha in The Lovebirds, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Yes, Sam. It was quite a moment there in your bedroom as I looked down at you, drugged and helpless on the bed. I shook you, and you didn't even groan. I shook harder. I shouted in your ear and pinched you. You didn't move. It was wonderful. For the first time in 7 years, I could laugh and mean it. I gave you plenty of time, Sam. You were gone. I couldn't feel your pulse when I called Doc Roberts at 6 in the morning. I waited downstairs for him to break the news to me.
Easy now, Martha. Just lean back and rest.
Tell me, what is it, Doc? What's wrong with him? He's going to die, isn't he? He's going to leave me alone.
Let down now. Just let go.
He wouldn't wake up, Doc. I shook him, but
Yes, I know.
Is he dead?
No. He'll live, Martha.
What?
Sam will be all right. He's sleeping now. Probably will till late this afternoon.
But what?
Martha, I think it'll be better if I say this straight out.
Say what straight out?
Looks to me like Sam took an overdose of sleeping medicine.
No.
Well, he might have made a mistake in counting, or...
Suicide?
Maybe. You noticed anything strange about him lately?
Well, you know how he's been since his asthma started.
Yeah.
What are you going to do, Doc?
I'm supposed to make a report on these things.
You can't do that. What if it got around town? What if it got back to Sam? There's no telling what he's...
That's true.
It still might have been an accident. Oh, we've got to give him the benefit of the doubt.
It's a touchy business, though, Martha.
He mustn't think that we suspect it. Doc, there's no telling what he'd do. I'll tell him he had a fever in the night.
Maybe you're right. You know, the body's a pretty durable thing, even a body like Sam's, but the mind, that's something else again. I'll do all I can, Martha, but the big job is yours.
For a second after he left, I thought I was going to faint. I got a drink from the sideboard. Made me feel better. Until I remembered something else. The doctor didn't suspect. But you, Sam, when you read the instructions on that box of pills... I drove all the way to Chicago that morning, Sam, and I got what I wanted. It wasn't quite noon when I returned to your room, put the new box on the stand beside your bed, and threw the other in the furnace. It was a long way to go, but you gave me plenty of time.
Where have I been? Martha.
Right here, Sam.
I feel dopey.
Doc said you had a touch of fever last night.
Doc?
Mm-hmm. He looked you over this morning.
What time is it?
Noon.
Funny. I don't remember anything about it. What's this?
What?
A box on the stand here. That's not the one I bought.
Oh, I got rid of your new pills. Picked up some of the regular kind this morning while I was shopping.
You never quit, do you?
What do you mean, Sam?
Spoiling me like this. First thing you know, I'll be as helpless as a baby. What's for lunch?
It was that easy, Sam. You never suspected. I was afraid of Doc Roberts at first, but he didn't say a thing. And for a while there was whispers you didn't hear. They were so sure you'd tried to kill yourself, Sam. They were so afraid you'd try it a second time. And I stopped being afraid. This was no time to lie back and wait. They'd given me a weapon. This was the time to do it.
Well, let's see, Martha. I reckon the surest thing would be poison. Thiocyanin.
But isn't that sort of dangerous, Jim?
Not if you're careful.
How much will I need?
Oh, one package ought to do it. Depends on how bad they are. The rats. Here. There you are. Hope it does the trick.
Thanks, Jim. So do I. It's going to be different this time, Sam. This time I knew where I was going. That's where I'd made the mistake before, you see. I hadn't planned. A week later, I was ready. I remember you came home early that evening, and I was in the kitchen starting your dinner. Salad, tossed lettuce and garlic. Plenty of garlic.
Getting dinner, Martha?
It's almost done. Have it ready in a minute.
That roast smells good.
Better go and wash so things won't get cold.
What's that you're mixing there?
Dressing for the salad.
Oh, dressing? You sure?
What do you mean?
Wouldn't be a love potion for me, would it, Martha? Or maybe, just maybe, a death potion. Oh, dear. You've cracked the salad bowl. What's the matter, Martha? Afraid you'll fail this time, too?
Oh, Sam, you're talking nonsense. I don't know what you're talking about.
You should, Martha. Jim tells me they haven't had my kind of sleeping pills at the drugstore for a long time. How far did you have to go to get them?
You're sick, Sam. You're building things up in your mind.
I wish I were. You see, I made a mistake this morning, Martha. I decided to wear my white shirt, the one with the French cuffs.
Shirt?
You can't wear a shirt like that without cufflinks. I guess you forgot that, Martha, didn't you? That I kept my cufflinks in your jewelry box. Yes. Yes, Martha, I found it. I found the poison.
Oh, well, that's what's worrying you. It's for the rats, Sam. I bought it for the rats.
Rats. Should have bought some rats, too, because there aren't any around here. There's a certificate from an extermination company in the file that says so. That's a nice-looking salad, Martha. Here, taste it.
Don't be a fool.
You're the fool. You bought the poison. For some rats that don't exist.
I ran out of the kitchen upstairs to my room. I was scared, Sam, and lost. I grabbed my coat and hat without thinking and started down the stairs.
Better not go, Martha.
Leave me alone.
Do you want to hang?
Hang.
That's right, Martha.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. There's got to be a murder first.
There will be. The minute you leave this house. Remember, my dear wife, I have the poison.
So?
Okay. Go on. Go on and leave, Martha. But just remember, when you walk out that door, I'll take enough of that poison to make them hunt you down from one end of the earth to the other. I'll take enough of it to make them hang you 20 times.
If someone had put a gun in my hand, I'd have killed you right there. But all I could do was swallow the scream that rose up in my throat and fight the weakness in my knees. And yet, Sam, I think with it all, with all the terror and sick defeat inside me, I still wanted to laugh. Remember, this was the house of the Lovebirds. That night I lay in bed, twisting and turning, waiting for you to go to sleep. I was in a prison, Sam, and only one thing would free me. I had to destroy the evidence. I had to find that poison. At 1 o'clock, I walked across to your door, opened it quietly, listened. You were asleep. Your clothes were draped over a chair next to the bed. I went through them first, into the closet and your other things, and then the dresser. It had to be somewhere. I tried to put myself in your place. Where would I have hidden it? Your snoring seemed to grow louder, pounding in my eardrums. I think it was then that I felt the paperweight on the nightstand. And for a moment I thought if I stopped that snoring, everything would be all right. I held it above your head, ready to smash and smash again and again.
Why don't you strike, dear? No. You know better than to kill me, don't you? That'd be silly, Martha. Stupid, too.
Where did you put that poison?
In a good, safe place. You're wasting your time, you know. You'll never find it. I plan to use it myself in my own good time.
What do you mean?
You'll find it one of these days when the mood strikes me.
Sam!
Why not? Remember, you bought the poison, and they'll figure you got caught in your own trap. Maybe got hold of a cup of coffee or a cheese sandwich or something you'd fixed for me by mistake. Better get back to bed now. Get some rest. You've got a trying day ahead of you.
There was no sleep for me after that, Sam. Just white-hot nightmares, endless hours of darkness. And day after day of torture, of a cat-and-mouse game with each of us watching each other. I couldn't let you poison my food. It was closing in on me, Sam. Something I couldn't stand. My head ached. My stomach was sick from hunger. I'll give it to you, Sam. You know your business. You know how to torture. And then one day, I got dizzy and nearly fainted. I had to eat something. I went to the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. The milk hadn't been opened. I poured a glass and drank it. It tasted so good. But then I remembered some poisons are tasteless. I was crazy to drink milk of all things. I poured it down the sink, feeling spasms and cramps in my stomach. I could feel them, Sam. They were real.
Don't care for milk, Martha? You're not being sensible at all. Milk is nature's perfect food. Says so on the bottle.
Oh, let me alone.
Let's see here. Pretty good selection. How about some cheese? Cheese is awfully good. And the roast beef is fresh cut. Doug brought it in from the country today.
How long are you going on with this, Sam?
Why?
I can't stand it much longer.
Afraid to die, Martha? Well, just relax. You're dying right now.
The milk. You poisoned the milk.
No, I didn't mean that. It's just that... Well, Martha, you're not as beautiful as you were. I was just looking at that portrait over the mantel. Did you know You were getting circles under your eyes, and your figure isn't at all what it was. I'm not sure even an invalid would want you now.
I guess I lost track of time for a while after that. The days slid by, the nights, too. I was hungry all the time. At first, I found some canned goods, but then you caught on and you punched holes in the rest of the cans. And I didn't dare touch them after that. I couldn't go on, Sam. I knew I couldn't last out. I was at the end of my rope that night when Betty and Doug stopped by. I can never forget that night, Sam, because as we sat there in the living room with that terrible, smiling portrait of me staring down at us, Betty said something. Something that made me realize I wasn't trapped. That there was a way out after all, an easy way.
Let me get you a drink, Doug. Sure, Sambo. Easy on the soda.
Me too, but easy on the liquor.
Check. How about you, Martha? You look a little tired. Might pick you up. I was about to say you look tired, Martha.
Oh, it's nothing, Doug.
I know. The old slave driver here is probably working you too hard, Martha. You need a vacation.
Yeah. How about driving down to Florida with us next week, huh?
Florida? Oh,
We can't make it, Doug. The doc wants to keep an eye on me.
I don't know. Heaven knows I like my home as well as the next one. But if I had to stick as close to it as Martha does, I'd probably go right out of my mind.
I sat very still. It was all I could do to keep a smile frozen on my face like a mask. At that moment, Sam, I felt like a prisoner who'd just been handed the key. It was a marvelous feeling, surging up inside me like fire. Well, of course. If they thought I was crazy, they'd take me away. And no matter what you did, you couldn't touch me. I looked around the room, saw the poker by the fireplace under the portrait. I remember how your eyes followed me as I got up and walked to the fireplace, picked up the poker, gave you one last smile. And then I turned to the painting and I raised the poker high.
Get her, Sam. Martha, put down that poker. Give it to me, Martha. Give me that poker. Let me go. Ouch, you bit me. Give me your hand, Doug. I got her now. Sam. Good Lord. Shell. Shell.
I like it here at the home, Sam. It's quiet. I get a lot of rest. I'm getting my weight back. But most of all, it's nice to feel safe. How long is it now? 3 months? 4? Pretending I'm insane? Anyway, I'll take my time. Think it through very carefully. And then, when I'm ready to drop the act, show them I'm qualified to leave. Then I think you know what I'm going to do, don't you, Sam? I'm going to kill you. That'll give you something to think about during the long nights alone in the Lovebird house in Pinewood Drive. I'm going to kill you. Kill you. Kill you!
Here, cool down. Yeah, I got her.
Okay.
Ease her down on the cot.
Shall I get the jacket?
No, she'll be all right. Gets like that once in a while. Too bad. Nice-looking woman. Goes off like that every once in a while.
Sure makes enough noise.
Yeah, it gets a little wild sometimes. Used to be a guy come to see her, little fella. I can remember he used to get down on his knees there beside her and say something like, Martha, I didn't have it honest, darling. Yeah, that's it. Then he'd say, I threw it away as soon as I found it in your jewelry box. He'd say it over and over like he thought it'd bring her out of it. Then he'd just stand there and cry like his heart was broken. Sure must have loved her an awful lot. But he was like the rest of them. After a while, he stopped coming. I don't suppose he's been back now for 10 or 11 years.
Thank you, Joan Fontaine, for a splendid performance.
Miss Fontaine.
Yes, Mr. Wilcox.
I ran across your picture today in the new two-color Autolite spark plug advertisement in this week's issue of the Saturday Evening Post.
Oh, yes, I saw that, and from reading it, I learned more about Autolite resistor spark plugs.
Oh, that's swell. You know, Miss Fontaine, during the coming weeks, that same two-color advertisement will appear in many national publications. Autolite wants to make sure that car owners everywhere replace old narrow-gap spark plugs with sensational new wide-gap Autolite resistor spark plugs. They're made by Autolite men who make over 400 products for cars, trucks, airplanes, and boats in 28 Autolite plants from coast to coast. Yes, sirree, Autolite also makes complete electrical systems for many makes of America's finest cars. Batteries, spark plugs, generators, starting motors, coils, distributors. All ignition engineered to fit together perfectly, work together perfectly, because they're a perfect team. So, folks, don't accept electrical parts that are supposed to be as good. Ask for and insist on Autolite, original factory parts at your neighborhood service station, car dealer, garage, or repair shop. Remember, you're always right with Autolite.
And now here again is Miss Joan Fontaine.
I very much enjoyed my appearance on Suspense tonight, and I'll be listening next week when Van Heflin appears in a really unusual story by Cornell Woolrich called 3 O'Clock. I know it will be another gripping study in
Suspense.
Joan Fontaine can currently be seen in You Gotta Stay Happy, a Rampart production co-starring James Stewart. Lester Sharp played the part of Sam. Tonight's Suspense play, The Lovebirds, was written by Cheryl Hendricks and adapted by Harold Swanton, with music composed by Lucian Moraweck and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. Next Thursday, same time, hear Van Heflin in 3 O'Clock.
You can buy Autolite electrical parts, Autolite resistor spark plugs, Autolite stay-full batteries at your neighborhood Autolite dealer. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
Help to relieve human suffering across the nation, across the world. Give through your Red Cross. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.